Hi everybody, this is Jessica Smith with my Module 16 case study on parent apathy. First off, we need to identify what we know from the case study. This school has very little interaction with parents and the community. Some parents do seem to be interested in becoming involved. We do have the 8 parents who attended the meeting. There was a parent organization in the past, so obviously there were enough parents to run an organization. Interestingly enough, the principal would consider a parental advisory group, but he doesn't want a PTO or a PTA. So it's interesting that the principal is in favor of some types of parent groups and not in favor of others. And he feels that parents don't want to be involved, and only a small group of people are being used to determine the pulse of the community. So even though the principal feels as though he's very in touch with what's going on in the community, it's only a select few opinions that are being heard. And also, Mrs. Rose is new to the position, which has adds a lot of different elements to the issue. It's hard for her to know if she's seeing the whole picture and know everything that's going on, and she doesn't know the history of what has occurred and why people feel the way that they do. So we need to identify the things that we need to find out in order to solve the problems. First off, why does the principal feel that if he reaches out, there'll be negative consequences? I understand the feeling of it might be a great deal of work to bring the community into the school system, but this idea that there will be negative consequences as a matter of course seems very strange, so we need to find out what that stems from. The previous parent groups, what happened to them? Why did they dissolve? It's not really a common thing to have a PTA just disappear. So what happened with that? This case study also mentions the meeting, the 7:30 meeting that parents have come to. Only 8 parents, but only 8 parents that took the time out of their day to drive back to the school, with or without their children, I assume without, taking the time away from their families, and the principal is considering canceling the meeting. That just is hard for me to understand. So I wonder, did the school cancel meetings in the past like this when the meeting is actually about to start? We really need to know this, because if the school has done this in the past, this might be part of the issue with bringing the community in. They don't want to have the ball dropped again. And who are these parents? Who are these 8? And who are these other parents who have been willing to manage the snack shack at a game? Which are these parents? Even if there's only a few of them, it's really important to know who they are, because these are the ones we can reach out to sooner rather than later, and they can help build that support back up. Finally, what events is the school doing currently that bring the community in? What types of things are they doing to open the doors to the community? Are they doing any? Do they have very many of them? And how comfortable is Mrs. Rose with talking to her principal? This is a new job for her. We don't know how much history these two people have together communicating, and we really don't know her level of comfort. So that is really important to determine in deciding what to do going forward. So, the root of the problem, as far as I can see, there's a lack of a sense of a shared school with the community. The school really isn't its own entity. It is a part of the community. It's funded by taxpayer dollars. So thinking that it is separate from the community in which it resides is just a very strange thought for me. The perspective seems to repeatedly be that the glass is half full. Rather than looking at the positive, seeing those 8 parents and being excited that they want to be engaged and do this extra work going above and beyond what they have to do, and looking at that as a negative that there's only 8 of them, I wonder if we don't have some past disappointments that are marring those future successes. If we keep looking back to something that's failed in the past and letting that affect our future, we really can't have those successes that we need to have. So we need to put the past behind us. We need to step forward with a fresh foot and really make the change now. Also, we have a resistant principal. The principal is in favor of a parental advisory group, but not a PTA, not a PTO. Sometimes you have to take the support any way that you can get it and not be choosy when we're trying to build that community back up. Also, we only have a very small pool of parents being contacted. Who are these people? Are they truly a good representation of the entire community? Finally, the message, the memo sent home to parents mentioned, if you'd like to be involved, come at 7:30. There weren't goals. The group needs to have goals. If you ask parents if they wanted to come and help prep for a red ribbon week at the school or help with a spaghetti supper so that the band could go on a trip, then you have a definite goal. This is really vague, so the number of people that came to the meeting could be low simply because of how vague it was and they didn't know what to expect of the meeting. They don't know how long it will run. So we really need goals and expectations if we want to have a group run successfully. Finally, the plan of action, in my opinion. I would start with this group of 8 and hold the meeting. The very last thing that I would do is cancel a meeting at the last minute. We need to show the parents that took the time out of their lives that we value that time, we value their effort, and we value them. To say, oh, there's not enough of you and not hold a meeting is, honestly, I feel it's quite offensive. It makes them seem like they're not important. Having a small group of 8 people means that you only have 8 people that you have to get on board with a new idea and then spread that positiveness out into the rest of the community. 8 people is a great number to make a plan and put it into action, and then that group can build later on. Well, also with 8, we need to set specific goals for the group. So once again, this small group can really define what they're going to do, which would be much harder if we had 30 or 40 parents. 8 is a good number to really say, this is what we're going to do this year, these are our goals, and set those goals up so that they're measurable. Decide that you're going to have a red ribbon week for the school. Decide that you're going to run a bottle drive to raise funds for a class trip. Make some decisions here about what the nature of this group is going to be. Is it going to be a group that looks into curriculum and helps fundraise for new textbooks? This all depends on your community specifically. So this group is a great one to tap into and make those decisions so it's truly a best fit for that school. Time for this meeting. The reason you only have 8 people might be because 7:30 is a little bit late. I've found great success in having meetings 6:30. That seems to work really well. 5:30 is a little too early to get there from work, depending on where you live. So 7 o'clock might be too late. If these parents also have younger children, or if we're talking about a school where all the children are younger, 7:30 can really affect bedtimes, so that might be a reason why there were only 8 people. Setting a better time might result in more people coming to the meetings. Next, we need regular meetings. This needs to be something that can be planned on. Regular, but not too often. You have to walk that balance. A meeting once a month is reasonable. A meeting every week is too much. A meeting every quarter, it's not something you can plan on. So decide when those meetings are going to be. Make it the first Tuesday of every month, the first Thursday of every month. These 8 parents likely have a good feel for when the sports games tend to be, when dance is in the community, those types of things. In our community, Wednesday night meetings won't happen because there are so many kids involved in the local dance program that's not a school-sponsored event but still has so many of those students involved. A meeting at that time would not happen for parents. They're too busy, they can't make it. So knowing when those things are happening is going to help you to set up a best time for those meetings. It could be the Little League games, There's some things that are going on in the community that will stop people from being able to come. Your 8 people that showed up for the meeting are likely at least 12 people that wanted to make it. Some forgot, some had a commitment. So really your 8 should be 12 to 16 people without an issue, just because of the night that you chose for the meeting. Finally, we need to delegate some responsibilities. Someone needs to take notes, so we have minutes from each meeting. Someone needs to promote this. It would be great if you started a Facebook page so that we could keep everybody up to pace. We're not going to use any specific names about students or anything at all like that. So just ideas of what the school might do. Maybe throw out a poll on Facebook and start to make those connections to parents. There's definitely one of those 8 people knows a majority of the other parents in the community and can help to make those connections. So use your team to the best of their ability. Find out what they're good at and leverage that. Next, we need to communicate with the community. So a multitude of ways. I already mentioned starting a Facebook page to share about your new group, but also the newsletter, the school newsletter, put a little memo in it. Whatever's going home to students, add a note about this group. Put it on the calendar when it goes out for the lunch menu so that parents see it on their refrigerator and know that it's going on. Involve the teachers. This is so critical. Mrs. Rose can't run this by herself. By herself, it's truly not ever going to be as effective as it could be. The assistant principal and the parents, it's a great start, but we really need to get the teachers involved and get their support. We need to have those teachers there sharing what's going on in the classrooms day to day, making connections, smiling and knowing people on a first name basis. This is absolutely critical to bringing our school and our community together. Finally, a few more steps in the plan. We need to identify members of the community who can be leveraged for learning. These are not they might be my 8 parents, but likely they're not my 8 parents. These are people that didn't even know this meeting was happening. We need to find out who they are, and your 8 parents can start to help you know who those people in the community are. In the past, the schools that I've worked with have utilized our local code enforcement officer. He's a great person to come in for the science fair and serve as a judge. You have parents whose students have aged out and gone through the system, but still have academic roles. They might be professors at local colleges. These are great people who tend to not mind coming in and working with the students and being a face in the school. This really helps. We're going to utilize these people for job shadowing. So some of these jobs might be places that students might look to as they graduate. Maybe the local grocery store. That might be a career for some of these students. The bank, things like that. We can get the students out job shadowing and get them known in the community. These people can also serve as guest speakers. Many people run small businesses. That is so powerful. For a student to see that you can start your own business, run it yourself, make your own hours, do what you love and make a living doing it, there's nothing more powerful than that to inspire them to work hard in school. Next up, we want to host an event. That's going to be one of our goals as this group, is to get the doors to this school building open, get parents in the community in so that they can see what's going on within our walls and share in the successes of our students. Teachers need to be recruited especially for these events. This is a great time for them to show off student work, show off what they've been teaching the students. And sometimes these events are a good time to show parents how to help their students. Show them the statistics and how important it is that they read with their child at night. Show them the reason that the math has changed a little bit. We all see those negative posts on Facebook about Common Core math, but it's because there's a lack of understanding as to why it's being taught a certain way. This is a prime time, especially with a math and literacy night, to show parents the why. The ways that we're teaching they're changing. They're changing because our world is changing. And it's really critical that parents understand this so that they can support us and better support their own students. We need to celebrate milestones with our community. That can be as simple as posting pictures of the graduating seniors, pictures from the basketball game when our team won, or sometimes when our team didn't win too. These are milestones. These are big things for our students. They take pride in that. And we need to allow our community to have a sense of pride in our students. They're not just our students. As the teachers and the principals and the administration, they are students of the community. They belong here and they're a part of this town. So it's really important to share this with the town so that they can feel a sense of that togetherness. Strategies to implement these ideas. First off, Mrs. Rose really needs to spearhead the effort. If the majority of the work falls on someone else, there could be some feelings of resentment. So she needs to be the one that steps forward and takes the majority of the initiative. It does not mean she has to do everything. She'll get volunteers for a lot of aspects, but it's really important that she's seen as the one making that big move and she didn't have the idea and push it off for someone else to do. Next up, we've got to work with what we've got. Those 8 parents are our key. They really are. We already have them. They are willing. They're willing to put things aside in order to help better this school and make a better environment for our students. So we need to utilize them. Okay, next, we're going to build excitement. We're going to plan that literacy night, that math night, and if you want people to come, you have to pump it up. You need to get the kids excited. You need to send home notices, and they need to be filled with excitement to promote these events so that people will come. And we need to promote this group as well so that we have more parents who become involved. Next up, reach out. Ask for assistance and tap into those human resources. As I mentioned before, one of those parents, one of those 8, knows most of everybody in the town. They've got 700 friends on their Facebook page, and when they say something, people hear it. Reach out to them. They're already basically a promoter in and of themselves, so that's the person that can help you with that aspect. You've got another one who has connections to the local businesses. Utilize them. You don't need to go knocking on doors. Use these 8 parents to help you. Let them be your key to the community. Ask them for help and utilize them. Then finally, as we're going through this process, later in the year, you want to step back a little bit and gauge that success. What were you doing that worked? What worked well? Did the math night work really well? Did the literacy night work well? Did you have better results if you had a meeting that was a little more fun and upbeat, where you also wrapped presents and gifts for a needy family in the community? Things like that. What are the keys to your success, and what fell flat as well? It's important to look back and notice the things that didn't work, because then you can revise and edit. Revise and edit, just like students revise and edit their papers. We need to revise and edit what we're doing. If it's not working, could it work if we adjusted it? Or is it something that needs to go entirely? So take a look back, decide what worked, what didn't, and improve. Every year, improve. The key to everything above and beyond all else is optimism. Mrs. Rose needs to be a force to be reckoned with. She needs to be positive. She needs to be upbeat. She needs to be excited about this group and bringing the community in. When she's faced with those negatives, such as the principal being hesitant, if Mrs. Rose is excited about this, it's going to be hard to remain withdrawn. It's going to be hard to withhold your energy from becoming involved. She ultimately has to be optimistic and excited, because that energy will bring others towards her with the same energy. This whole thing of solving the problem of parent apathy is critical to success for all students. All students. One huge thing I want to make sure we're clear on, we know involved parents are good for students. We know that. But we also need to recognize that involved parents benefit students that are not their own children. There are other kids that benefit from that. I can recall in high school, I had an involved mother. When it rained during a tennis match, she took sweatshirts out of the back of the trunk and provided them for students who didn't have them. My classmates, teammates benefited from my parents being involved. So maybe it's the child that lives next door, comes over and does homework with a student of an involved parent. There's a ripple effect, and this involvement benefits them all. Maybe one of your 8 parents picks up a couple of the kids down the road to bring them to the math night or the literacy night because they want to go. Sometimes we can't make every student have an involved parent, but we can rest assured that those involved parents are going to affect students beyond just their own children. We need the support of the parents in the community if we want our students to all be successful. We have to change the way that we teach to meet the needs of the students. Sometimes when those shifts happen, there's backlash from the community and there's a lack of support. It pulls the foundation away from education when you say, why do the students have to learn this? Why do these kids have to learn this way? Let's teach it the old way like we used to learn. We need to beat that. We need to get out into the community, we need to bring them into the schools, and we need to show them the exciting things that we're doing and the changes that we're making and how those changes are better for these students. That way, they can be impressed and they can support us in these changes. The connection to local businesses is huge, This allows students to see why they're learning the things we're teaching them. Why are they going to school? Why do they need the high school diploma? What are they going to do with this? Seeing these businesses and seeing the careers right in their own backyard helps them understand the why of everything that we do. And it gives us a huge jumping off point to embed our teaching in the real world. So we can make connections. When I'm teaching them to solve 2-step equations, I can mention the local business that came in and spoke to the students about what they do and how I can tell them how those equations can be used in that setting. Suddenly, there's no more question about why do I have to learn this. Students understand why, and when they see those connections enough, they stop asking why, and they just start putting their effort into learning because they know we're teaching them these skills for a true purpose, and it will be connected to what might be their own future. Schools don't live in a vacuum. They have to be a part of the community, and they have to be responsive to those communities. We have to understand in our school systems what is going on locally, because those are the things that affect our students. They affect these kids when they come to school with extra baggage because of things that have happened in that community. Recently, we had in the next town over quite a few people get into a bad batch of drugs, and that's not something you want to see in school, and it didn't happen in school. But some of these kids know these people. Some have lost parents because of these things, and we need to be responsive to that. We need to be sensitive to those things. When the election was quite tense this year, this past year, that was something that came to school with these students. It was a stress for them. They all had their opinions, and we can talk about that, but we have to be sensitive because they have these different feelings, and it's harder for them. When there's a doomsday scare, for us, it might not be a big deal, but to them, this is the first time they've seen someone say that there's a countdown to doomsday. Some of these students are stressed by these things, and so we need to really know what's going on in the community so we can be responsive to that. And finally, students, especially teenagers, especially when you hit that 13, 14, 15, 16, it's a hard age for them. And they need to feel as though they're part of something bigger than themselves. It's easy to get wrapped up in what's going on with just them and lose sight of the big picture. Bringing that community aspect into our schools lets these students know that there is something bigger than just them, and it's absolutely critical. They need to see the future. They need to see what can happen when they're older. They need to see potential. They need to see things going forward. They need to see things beyond just the Facebook updates. Finally, debriefing. The main thoughts for me reading the case study are that the principal really seems tired of putting this effort out, and it almost seems as though his effort has gone to waste and caused negativity. I feel like there also must have been a significant event to cause such apathy in the school system and such a disconnect between the community and the school. I'd like to know what that event was. And then finally, I'm optimistic, so I wonder, is the apathy really as bad as it appears when we read this case study? Or is it because of those people that the principal's consulting? Is it their opinion rather than the opinion of the majority? And that's what I would ultimately hope. Also, on the upside, there are at least 8 people who do want to be involved. All right, next, I had a range of feelings as I read through this. The first one was shocked that the principal would not approve a PTA and PTO. With how much those groups do for our students, it was really shocking for me to read of someone not being willing to support that. I was concerned about what exactly happened to cause these negative feelings and where they came from. And I'm a little worried for Mrs. Rose, as a newcomer to the school, that those efforts aren't going to be received as well. So I'm a little concerned that since she's new, she won't get as much credence given to her ideas. Also, I'm excited to work with the people who did come out to attend the meeting, because that is a big deal, and I would be really excited to have 8 individuals. Finally, the things that I valued during this process. I value those parents who made time in their busy schedules to come out and attend this meeting. I value students getting the opportunity to partner with local businesses if my plans are followed through with. I value the principal's willingness to give it another try, even after some negative event has obviously happened. There are some unresolved issues that we do need to focus on. We need to identify what these are, because if they come up in the future, we want to be able to prepare for them. So the things to consider are, why did everything fall apart previously? What caused this big rift to occur? Will my principal support the efforts that I make to reunite the school and the community? Can we create that excitement and get more people involved? Will the staff support the effort and participate? Category 5. The first component was promoting academic success. Teachers and families need to have that open line of communication with each other so that when problems occur, parents feel comfortable reaching out to the teachers, and that line of communication really needs to happen. Bringing them together through the group itself, participating in the group and working together, or even the literacy nights and math nights, any of those events that we host brings those parents and teachers together and makes them more familiar with each other on a first name basis, so that when things occur, they're able to reach out to each other. Math and literacy nights are really important because they let our students demonstrate pride in their new skills. This pride is critical because it encourages them to work harder and therefore be more successful. Families in the community need to know why we change our teaching methods. If they know why we're making the changes, then I truly believe that they will support us and be a resource for us to utilize as well. Next is promoting the personal well-being of all students. First and foremost, students need to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, and the relationship with the community will meet this need. It will make them feel as though they belong. They are a part of the community. Students thrive when they get a taste of success and they grow personally. These math and literacy nights and any other events that we hold are a time where they can showcase their successes, their new skills, and this serves as a motivation for them. It gives them pride in themselves and makes them feel good. Bringing in local businesses will show students career paths that are available right in their own backyard and really encourages them to think to the future and dream big. Finally, students without parental involvement are going to benefit from the other parents who do get involved. I mentioned this earlier. This can be a parent picking up the kids that live next door and bringing them into the math night, the literacy night, or giving them a ride home after a sports practice so that they can be involved. Kids benefit from these involved parents, even if they don't have an involved parent of their own, and I cannot stress that enough. Component 3 is promoting communities of engagement. To do this, I'm going to bring local businesses into the schools, and this will promote the school to the stakeholders and demonstrate the value of the school. Events held at the school will bring the families in and create a sense of open doors and transparency that we really might need later and should have anyway. Setting goals with those 8 parents who attend the first meeting will allow us to create specific aims and make the events cater to the needs of the community. Those 8 parents know what the community values and can really help me to tailor those events to the specific community. And finally, fostering that excitement about collaboration in these events will help to broaden the community being brought into connection with the school. We don't want just parents. We want beyond parents. We want aunts, uncles. We want family, local businesses. We want as many people as we can coming into the school and participating in these events to really make it feel more a part of the community. Thank you guys for watching. Sorry it's long.